Okay, everyone, we're at 1:02. I will call this meeting to order, and I'd like to begin by acknowledging with deep respect that we are gathered on the unceded ancestral territories of the Squamish Nation, whose people have been stewards of this land and water surrounding the Cleveland and Bowen Island. Thank them for their ongoing leadership in the area. Welcome to the Bowen Island Municipality meeting of Monday, October 27th, 2025, and thank you for joining. I'm Andrew Leonard, the Mayor of Bowen Island Municipality and the chair of this meeting. I'd like to begin, as I always do, by introducing the other elected members of Bowen Island's Council, beginning on my far right with Councillor Alex Jurgensen. To his left is Councillor Island's trustee, Sue Ellen Fast. To her left is Councillor Island's trustee, Judy Getty. To my far left, we have Councillor John Saunders. To his right is Councillor Tim Wake, and to his right is Councillor Allison Morse. We are also joined by members of our professional staff team here this afternoon, including our Chief Administrative Officer, Kieran Dillon, our Corporate Officer, Sophie Insignia, and other members of our professional staff who may be presenting reports and information here today. This meeting is being recorded, and when members of the public speak, during the public comment and question and answer portion of the meeting, your presence and voice will be included in the permanent recording, which will be available at bowenislandmunicipality.ca and is currently streaming to billions worldwide over YouTube live stream, where it will be kept for posterity as well. This council meeting is an official forum for the conducting of the business of local government. We all love our community. We are all very passionate about what happens here. I would encourage everyone to maintain a constructive and respectful tone during the meeting and to direct comments during the public comment and question and answer portion of the meeting to myself. For those following along either in the room or online, or even at a later date, the agenda and full council package for today's meeting, including all of the staff reports and correspondence, is available at bowenislandmunicipality.ca. And with that, I will look to the corporate officer for the introduction of any late items here today.
There are no late items.
No late items. And with that, can I have a motion to adopt the meeting of the October 27th meeting? Moved by Councillor Jurgensen, seconded by Councillor Saunders. Any discussion, changes, amendments? Not seeing any. I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That carries unanimously. Moving on to our first order of business, which is public comments. I'll look to the corporate officer for how many public comments do we have here today?
We have two this afternoon.
Two public comments. So public commenters, when you come up, you'll have 3 minutes to make your comment. At about 2 minutes and 45 seconds, you will hear a buzzer or an alarm. That is not to cut you off. That's just to let you know that you've got about 15 seconds left to finish your thought and then to bring home your asks and comments to council. Your time does not start until you're set and ready and at the front and have had a deep breath. And once you begin, that's when the time will start. So we'll look to our corporate officer to invite our first commenter up to the front here today.
First, we have William McKenzie.
Mr. McKenzie, if you'd like to join us up here at the front. Oh.
Hi.
Hello, welcome.
So we are presenting together about the skate park.
Okay.
We've prepared like a short, what is it, a speech? Short thing about how important it is to us and the rest of the skate community. Okay. We're bored. Our island doesn't really have much to do for teens. The skate park would be really healthy and a good thing for teens to do on our island. Instead of getting in trouble or doing unhealthy things, teens could practice skating and having fun together. The skating community is very inclusive and tight-knit at the same time. They'll help each other learn and grow together.
It would not just be good for teens, it can also be for younger teens and adults. We need a skate park because there are many experienced or even just average skaters who want to get better. Having a proper, safe place to practice our skating would really benefit lots of people. There also might be people who used to skate but haven't for a long time and want to get back into it. Having a skate park would make that much easier. There's also tons of kids and even adults who have only dreamed about skating but want to try. A skate park would motivate them to learn how to skateboard and fulfill their dreams of skating.
Even though there are a few spots that are all right for skating, we don't have any places that are made for it. Me and some friends have spent hours looking around the cove for anywhere to skate. We have not been very successful. So far, the best place that we found is the community center. There are some curves and flat ground, but it's all knobbed and very hard to skate. That is a reason why a skate park would be wonderful as an actual place made for skating. Skating is a big part of my life, and I've spent a lot of time trying to learn a new trick, and there are other people who have done the same. The Bowen skate community is much larger than I thought. I've met a good amount of skaters at the community center around town. I've also seen a good amount of beginners trying to learn their first trick or going down a big hill with wobbly knees. A park would help those beginners have somewhere to skate and let anyone else who wants to have a go at it.
It would be amazing for Bowen to have a skate park, not only as a place for skating, but also as a place for socializing. Experienced people could practice there, and it might bring new people into skating too. Our friend group has been skating for a while, mostly at the community center, but there's only so much that we can do there. A park would be an amazing thing for the whole Bowen community, and especially the Bowen skate community. We would like to ask the Bowen municipality to build a skate park for Bowen Island.
Thank you so much, Councilor Saunders.
Thanks, guys. That was, I think you represented yourself really well there and thought through what you wanted to say. It came across real well. Just one question. You obviously started your address it by saying there's nowhere to skate. It's a small island. Where would you see something like that happening? Do you have any ideas?
The field, like, there's some spots that are like
Open.
open and. It's one spot.
So behind the baseball diamond, there's an empty field, and we thought maybe that would be a place. Also, I was looking at spots online and I saw something about what is now, I think, the kindergarten, like the one close to IPS.
Children's Center.
Children's Center, thank you. I saw something about them saying that they had some space or something.
Thanks, Kat.
Thank you, Councilor Saunders. Councilor Getty, followed by Councilor Ferguson.
So, I really liked the presentation too. I hope your butterflies are okay. And, if that's your first time doing public speaking, you did really well. So we were introduced to the first speaker is William, and there's two of you, so we need another
This
name.
is William and I'm Luca Cummins.
Okay, thank you. Vic. Thank you.
Councilor Getty, Councilor Ferguson.
Luca, thank you so much for the presentation. We love it. What would you see as some of the features of a park? What needs to be built?
My uncle's a skate park designer, so I've had a lot of things that have had to do with designing skate parks. Some stuff which I would like would be maybe a curb, like a smaller one that would be good for practicing ollies off and on. A few banks like ramps, and just some like simple stuff, but also a few more things would be good for some like more advanced skaters.
Cool. Well, I want to echo my council mates. Really well done for the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, Mackenzie and Mr. Cummins, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your thoughts with us. It's appreciated.
Thank you.
Thanks, Getty. Future councilors. Moving on to section 3 delegations, we have 3.1 Kendra Pat and Miles Rubin from the Bowen All Wheel Society regarding proposal for skate park. I would invite you folks to come up here. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thanks for having us. Yeah. So good afternoon, Mayor, Council, and staff. Thanks for allowing us to be with you today. We want to propose a collaborative project with you. An idea of our All Wheels, Bowen All Wheels Society that we've created. It's an all wheels terrain park. So some people are referring to it as a skate park. We're referring to it as an all wheels terrain park. My name is Miles Rubin. This is Kendra Patton. And again, we're speaking on behalf of the newly formed Bowen All Wheels Society. And just a land acknowledgement, we want to acknowledge we're gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh Nations. Tsleil-Waututh Nations. We're grateful for the opportunity to live, work, and learn on this land, and we're committed to building meaningful relationships with Indigenous peoples based on respect and reconciliation.
A
collaborative vision for Community All Wheels Park. We are seeking the support and approval of the Bowen Island municipality to begin a collaborative process for the development of a Community All Wheels Terrain Park. We're looking to the municipality for land and partnership to move forward. Introducing the Bowen Island All Wheels Society, also known as BOZ. We are a group of dedicated residents committed to building a safe, inclusive, and inspiring all-wheels terrain park on Bowen Island. Our group brings together a diverse range of skills and experiences to make this project a success. As longtime community members, we share a common vision of creating more opportunities for youth engagement, healthy activity, and social connection. Representing BOZ is Miles Rubin, a registered social worker and clinical youth therapist specializing in child and youth mental health and addictions. Miles has firsthand experience working with youth and understands the importance of creating a dedicated space for them to call their own. I am also representing BOZ. I am a project manager and mother of two, having worked with the municipality in the past to bring the Westside Playscape to life. I have hands-on experience and a deep commitment to seeing community projects through to success. Also in the room, we have David Bellringer. He's part of BOZ as well, and he's worked with the Muni on various development projects on Bowen Island and is well versed in getting projects off the ground. We also have Andrew Monahan, CFO of Rethink Ideas, a leading Canadian advertiser. Andrew organized a downhill skateboard event called Giant's Head Free Ride for 10 years in Summerland, BC, which brought riders from around the world. We also have on the BOZ committee, we have Luke Bragg and Jamie Body from Elevated Building Company. Both have years of construction experience and expertise that they will bring to this project. We also have Taz Dunsmuir in the room and Corey Munishi via Zoom, who started the skate days in collaboration with Bowen Rec. They have thrown 4 skate days and are responsible for the community momentum that is being building around this idea. Also Matt Viner, a longtime skateboarder, community member, and father of 2.
So just want to share a bit about our motivations for the project. So we just want to really emphasize the importance of face-to-face interaction with youth. Just given the current time where in my practice as a social worker and therapist focused with youth, really seeing a decline of face-to-face interaction. A lot of, and this is both anecdotally and backed up by research. So a lot more social isolation, kids spending a lot more time at home, and an increase in anxiety. So that's been cited in a lot of recent research. And again, also in my practice, I'm seeing that pretty regularly. So we're seeking a place where kids can come together, right? So to make healthy physical, to do healthy physical activities and creative risk-taking, right? So healthy risk-taking that we want to see out there to kind of reduce the idea of anxiety or social isolation, right? So we want a park that also honors the land, one that weaves around it, right? We want it to be sort of Bowen focused, right? Where it's not sort of taking over land, where it's sort of complementing the land and leaving, not sort of running over it. And we want to keep kids on the island, right? I think that's we've got a growing, like a pretty high population and children population. And many youth are looking off island for their recreation opportunities. We would like to keep them on island, give them another option to stay here. It may also, it also weakens social connection on the island and rely more heavily on travel, right? We think this is going to add vibrancy to the community. We see it as a multi-generational space, gathering space. So during our skate day, last skate day that we did last month, we saw a lot of parents and young children interacting together. This isn't just for teenagers, I guess is the point we want to make here. This is a multi-generational space that people can gather together and have fun together. Yeah. And support physical activity in a non-competitive environment. We're hoping this actually empowers youth and supports mental health, actually, mental wellness on the island.
Why now? Momentum is building. The most recent skate day hosted by the Community Rec in collaboration with BOZ, we saw close to 150 attendees over the course of the event. It was full of energy and showcased strong community engagement with a positive and inclusive atmosphere for all ages and all wheel users. It wasn't just skateboarders. We had scooters, we had, I don't even know what some of them are called. The community sport is growing, especially among youth and families. Since we formed last May, many community members have come forward and spoken up in support of this project. We have engaged with leading skate park builders in BC, New Line, Spectrum, and Transition. They're all ready to guide us if we get approval to proceed. BOZ is ready to raise the necessary funds through federal and provincial grants, sponsorships, and community support. And we have close to 1,000 signatures in support of this initiative.
So we just want to put this in context for you. So right now, BC has over 180 skater terrain parks. And that ratio of all wheels parks to youth continues to improve, thanks to recognition of their value in these communities. For a population of about 4,000, Bowen currently has no dedicated youth recreation space of any kind, which is below the provincial average for a municipality of this size. So with approximately 900 children and teens on Bowen Island, we feel like the demand is clear. We feel like it's time to build something that brings people together, a dedicated youth and family space. And just we just wanted to show like our inspiration from other communities who we've consulted with, of similar size. So some examples, Summerland and Fernie. So Summerland, BC, that local municipality notes that the skate park is now, they consider it a tourist destination. It's an exciting hub for youth. It allows for more community connection and outdoor recreation. Fernie, BC, successful contemporary example, comparably sized community, showing inclusive design, community hub integration, and diversified recreation values. Other parks to note, again, of similar size, Smithers, Galliano, Trail, Mackenzie, Ucluelet, Tofino, Peachland, and Revelstoke, to share a few. We also wanted to show sort of funding comparisons. So the main point we want to highlight here is down in the bottom right corner is our annual operation costs that we're estimating for a park of this size. We're estimating a park, of a population of 4,300. We're looking at something smaller. So, an average cost looks to be in the anywhere from 1.1 million to 2.2 million in Gabriola, Fernie, and Smithers. We're looking just at we estimate like $600,000 budget. We're not asking the municipality for $600,000. We're asking for a collaborative process to be part of it, but we are asking for an estimated $5,000 per year in maintenance costs. Okay, so that's really what we're asking. And of course, we're asking for lift, right? But just to be really clear on that, and so you can take a look at the funding comparisons here, just based on locations of similar size, right? So we'd be looking at a Bowen size skate park, nothing crazy, nothing big, right? Yeah.
Imagining Bowen's terrain park. The park will be appealing but modest and Bowen size to fit the landscape. We will work with the community, leading skate park designers, and the municipality to build a Bowen size skate park that is appropriate for the land and this community. We've got our estimated budget here. We would like to build a skate park between 3,000 and 5,000 square feet. We estimate the startup and consultation costs to be 15 to 20,000. Site analysis, community consultation, and concept design around 30 grand. Technical design and construction drawings, 65,000. Site prep, earthworks, concrete and materials. We've estimated these to be between $85 and $100 a square foot, which would mean a park 3,000, 5,000 square feet would be between 300,000 and 500,000. So a total construction budget being in the range of 600,000.
So again, we want to emphasize this is a collaborative process between us, the municipality, park staff, and the grant funding bodies, and of course, youth and families. So we have some interest from youth to start a youth advisory committee, which I think would provide a really unique opportunity for young people to feel like they have a voice in this process. So we'd like to have them involved right from the start. As a social worker, again, this is something I really value. Just have, it's a good opportunity for young people to be involved in something that they're clearly passionate about. And we're seeking to collaborate on many levels, and we're happy to answer any questions you guys have just regarding the funding and the grant opportunities that are out there. Some grant opportunities through the Tony Hawk Foundation, for example, on the Canadian Tire Jumpstart program. And of course, we think it's imperative to involve Indigenous stewards of this land in the process as well.
Request to the Bowen Island municipality. We are requesting the approval to proceed with planning and fundraising in collaboration with the municipality. Land use suggestions. With the support of the Parks and Rec staff, we propose a section of Lot 2 or Lot B. This is the municipal land located between the outdoor learning gazebo at Bix and the existing bike park. Connecting the bike park and the proposed all-wheels terrain park in this area would create a cohesive recreation zone that attracts more users and enhances the success of both spaces. We understand that this particular site may come with its challenges due to the trees. This is simply a suggestion and we are open to other locations. We're looking for the municipal blessing and guidance. A collaborative working relationship is key to a successful, well-integrated outcome. We look forward to working with you to see this new park to completion.
Yeah, and just on behalf of Bowen All-Wheels Society and our vibrant community of skaters and scooters and riders and all wheels of any kind, we thank you for your time and consideration today. And we're dedicated to enriching the lives of youth and families on Bowen Island. That's why we're here, and in collaboration with the municipality to help our community grow and be an even more awesome place to live, play, and grow together. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Rubin and Ms. Patton. I'll look to council for questions or comments, starting with Councillor Fast and Councillor Wick.
Thanks for the presentation and for all the awesome work that's gone into it already, I can tell. I'm glad to see the bike park mentioned there because I was thinking no other dedicated space for youth and teens on Bowen. Well, what about the bike park? And so that sounds good. I'm just also aware that there's another use, and that is the school uses the forest there as an outdoor classroom kind of situation. And that particular spot has a number of different tree species, bark rubbings and things like this where kids can get to know them. So I know that's been in some of their activities that they've used over the years. I'm not sure if it's being used now, but I'd like to help. So let me know if I can help Carla or whoever point out which ones were used. Not sure if they're still used. And how do you see the bike park and the skate park working together? Are you anticipating, mud from the bike park coming on to this terrain park, or are you seeing overlaps in use with the bikes? Be welcome.
I think they would be their own designated areas. They would just draw more people because it's in the same sort of zone. So I don't think the bike park is going to prohibit anything in the skate park or vice versa. I think it'll just hopefully draw more people. In my experience, whenever I've gone to the bike park, I've rarely seen it being used, unfortunately. And I think if it, that hopefully if we have a skate park in this area, it would just mean more kids going to that zone and using both parks and making them both more successful.
Great, thank you. I thought I had an idea about them adjoining. Is that what you're thinking of, or are you thinking you're not sure?
Yeah, not necessarily joining. I think that we'd probably keep the fence there as is, right? But no, we wouldn't envision it as necessarily joining, but certainly we envision bikers sort of coming in between the two spaces. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
For sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
But we think it would enhance the use of that space, which we feel like might be underused at the moment, actually. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Cohorts coming.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure. Because bikes are welcome. It's all wheels, not just skateboards that we're looking at here for sure. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Fast. Councillor Wake, followed by Councillor Getty, Saunders, and Morse.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Love the energy. I'm just thinking about the size, so, using the upper limit, about 5,000 square feet, that would be the actual park and ramps and stuff itself, but you've also talked about it being a gathering area, so have you estimated what size of site you'd actually need?
Well, we think that site would meet the need. Like, I think size wise, there's an opportunity there. So with that, we're looking at 3,000 to 5,000 square feet. That space which we've looked at with park staff, actually, it fits that size. Yeah, and even with speaking to some of the trees around there's apparently some maples that need to come down anyway, which is part of why we thought that was an appealing spot. We're really hoping to not, again, I think we spoke to it in the presentation, but we don't want to bulldoze beautiful trees, right? We want it to be a space that will weave around nature, right? So we feel like it could actually have an opportunity to be a really unique space. But yeah, we're drawn to that space, but we're not, we're open to working with whatever ideas might come our way.
Okay, so I think what the actual answer is that 5,000 square feet would be the entire site.
Yeah.
The site, but there's obviously forested area around that, so the gathering space of it is much larger. The site itself would be 5,000. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Councilor Wade, Councilor Giddy.
I'm really excited in terms of hearing about your background too, so that's. I know, Ms. Patton, that you were really helpful with the West Side Park and pulling that off and getting that up and running, and it's a wonderful space. And Mr. Rubin, I think that your background, and I'm really glad to know that the young teens and older teens have some resources in the community that are really very strong and committed and helpful. So I'm also thinking that there used to be a resident on Bowen, Jennifer Love, I know because she was very heavily involved with textiles and the workshop that used to be up at Artisan, but she's got a granddaughter who's, I think, a national champion, possibly Olympic, and has done extremely well and is one of these mind-boggling, crazy, scary, talk about risking and anxiety and everything.
Yeah.
Amazing things.
Yeah.
Most of them upside down. So I think that I'd like to get you her name and contacts. That young woman can come and meet with the kids and maybe more girls. I see there's mostly young boys here today. So get, more people involved, but it's very, very exciting. I think it's something that would be really good for the community, both the kids and everybody else that's interested. I would like to have a longer list of available sites. That one that you've been talking about that's just past the Snake Pit that was looked at years and years ago as part of an early proposal for a golf course before it went out to Seymour. And there were some species trees in there that were of particular concern in terms of conserving. And whether or not there's other spaces that aren't too far away, aren't too tucked away that the kids can get at or the families can get at easily and things like that. So that if there are other spaces around the island, so that would be of interest as well. And I know you've done the collaborative agreements successfully, and I'm curious in terms of from start to finish, assuming that we had land to have a contract of use and some agreement, how long would it take to build something like this?
We're not sure. We've heard, I think you guys consulted a little bit on this, right? If you want to speak to it. Yeah.
Well, Jamie and Luke both looked at this and they've done a lot for the construction companies and pouring concrete and that sort of thing. And they think it'd be 3-4
Can I get you
months.
to, sorry, maybe stand up and speak really
Yeah, sure.
loudly? These are microphones so that whoever's listening.
Yeah. And so Jamie and Luke on our team here, they've kind of thinking it'd be about 3-4 months of construction work. Because really all you're doing is forming and pouring cement. So that, that's not a long period of time. So that can all be done kind of during the summer period when it's a great time to get work done. And that's roughly the time estimate they'd consider.
It'd take longer to get the land sorted out. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
The construction is probably the shortest part, but obviously the land, the collaborative process, the funding, all that stuff, we're hoping within 2 years is kind of our maximum timeline.
Did you have something to add?
No, Kendra just mentioned,
Okay.
we've been in consultation with other communities that have built skate parks, and their process was generally a 2-year long process after grant applications and construction.
Councilor Saunders.
Thank you. Thanks for your presentation. I'm a fan of anything that has people outdoors more, so this would be a good thing in my mind. Having said that, and this was touched on at least a little bit by Councillor Fast, but probably 6 to 10 times a week, I walk by the bike park on the way to the lake, and that's over 5 years, so I've done it hundreds of times. Maybe 5 times in those 5 years have I seen anybody at the bike park, frankly. Nice bike park, but I don't think I'm not a biker particularly, but I don't think it's for particularly advanced people. I think it's for young kids more than anything else. Given the land constraints that we've been discussed or that have been raised here and the knocking down trees and everything else, any consideration just saying, I wonder if we can just do that, take that space and build off that? I don't even know if that's doable from our perspective, but it just comes to mind. If it's being underutilized, maybe we could utilize it.
Yeah, we've tossed around so many different locations. We sort of landed on this because we had the support of the Parks and Rec staff, and it sort of was hoping to draw more people to that bike park. In our ideal mind, we're looking for something that is close to the cove, has sort of washrooms within a reasonable distance, is on public transit for, the kids to get there by bus or whatever. So Luca and William had mentioned that field below the baseball diamond. We sort of thought that would be a great location. There's also that, I don't know what the lot's called, that little road you zip up sometimes where you guys dump stuff. That triangle of land, we sort of thought that could be great, but Jamie on our crew, he's an excavator, and he said that just the site work required would be really drive our budget up.
Yeah, I guess all I'm suggesting is rather than have to go through, if it's possible, rather than have to go through the process of finding new space, take space like the existing bike park that isn't being used very much. I'm sure there's somebody that will hear me say that and go, well, I use it, so good on them. But like that would save a lot of time and effort in terms of. Yeah. Anyway, just thought.
Definitely, yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor Morse, followed by Councilor Jurgensen.
I think having a skate park on all wheels, sorry, it's great. And I like the idea of the all wheels actually. Seeing kids with the bikes using the concrete. Following up a bit on Councilor Saunders' comment, would the park, if it was all wheels, detract from the kids using the existing bike park for the little kids?
I don't think so. I think there's sort of two different uses for a similar bike, they would get sort of different activities out of them still. There'd be different things to do at the all wheels park than already exist at the bike park. So they're complementary.
And then I guess just another sort of practical question, I guess, with all the rain and everything, that I assume there's drainage built into all these things. Yeah. And then the other is thinking about our driveway. The roots, tree roots, is there a concern with having the trees around it? You might end up with the concrete heaving eventually with the roots from the trees.
Again, I think that Jamie or Luke are not here with us today. Oh, is Luke here? Oh, Luke's there. Sorry. Yeah, did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, that is a concern, obviously with concrete and lifting, but we would try to keep trees that we feel like that would not push up into the concrete. Over that.
And I have a vague recollection of a $10,000 donation being made at some point in the past. Maybe it was around the Artisan Square rezoning times, when it was first established, for a skate park. And I know I don't think it's not a specific reserve, and we haven't had an analysis of what's in appropriated surplus. So I have a funny feeling it might be sitting there, or maybe it got used to build the wooden skate ramps and stuff, but I wouldn't have thought it would have cost $10,000, so. So I'm looking around and then, there is, apparently there is also my recollection and, that was just confirmed, that there was the donation of the triangle at the corner up here when you go down Mount Gardner and opposite the school, but it is not a feasible site for building. It's just too much up and down and everything else. So it's-
Thank you, Councilor Morse. Councilor Jurgensen.
Well, thank you. Most of my councilmates have asked the questions that I had in mind, but just wanted to offer my support to it as well. And as I mentioned to Boz before, you know, if there's any appetite to have consultation on accessibility, happy to pursue that as well.
Thank you. Thanks, Alex.
My only final question, you're welcome. My only final question is, when you say all wheels, would you be able to shed a little bit of light? I heard skateboards, I heard scooters, and I heard bikes. Is there any other kind of wheels you anticipate using it?
Those are the main ones, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, rollerblades, yeah, long roller skates, rollerblades, yeah.
We also have solo. Mono, yeah. No, what we had at the skate day, we had
Tricycles, yes.
somebody with like a single wheel. I don't know what those things
A
are.
unicycle?
No, but it looked like it was from the future.
Well, when you visit a skate park, or, you know, primarily it's skateboards, it's then followed by scooters. I think they really are, that's what populates most of these parks. But yeah, bikes obviously are welcome. There's this sort of BMX kind of scene that you can use this. So BMX bikers will typically hop on some of these as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so I mean, encouraging. And I just want to presence, I think, an appreciation for the coalition that you've been able to bring forward here today. You know, seeing Ms. Patton, your work on the West Side Playscape, which living out in Blue Water, my son and I continue to enjoy on a regular basis. You know, the partnership with youth, the speaking into the potential intergenerational uses of those spaces. And then giving us things like the comparators and costs and things like that. So I think this is a great and encouraging start that, you know, seems to have some tentative support, but we certainly like to see more in terms of plans. For me, the operational expenses, I mean, look totally reasonable. I'd be curious about the long-term capital replacement of an asset like that. You know, in 20 years, will we need to spend another $600,000 or $1 million to replace it, because that ends up on the municipality's balance sheet. And as we get into our own asset management planning, I think that's an important consideration of what is the overall replacement cost. The choice of areas is interesting. So when I look at the map of the community lands in Lot 2 generally, I think there's a potential opportunity there to build more of a critical mass of recreation spaces, both for youth as well as that intergenerational piece. If you look at the map, there's a school sort of on one border of that space, and then you've got Bowen Court on the other space, and then the community center where we're at now on the other corner. So I think there's some thought that we could give on the municipal side as to what does sort of a recreation precinct or zone look like in that area, sort of behind the community center. And if we've got a bike park going in there, if there's the appetite to put in an all wheels park there as well, you know, maybe there's the opportunity to consider a youth clubhouse of sorts, and, you know, other potential uses that could get put in that zone as well, given its proximity to the community center, to the school, even to Bowen Court. I think it's an interesting space to look at, pending the environmental pieces that could be looked at. Yeah. So thank you for being here today. I see Councillor Jurgensen looking to get a comment or question in under the buzzer. So I'll hand it over to you, Councillor Jurgensen, for the last word.
It's more point of access, but you referenced 3 sides of a piece of land, and unless that piece of land is triangular, is there something on the 4th side?
I wouldn't call it square. I wouldn't call it triangular. As I look at it, it's maybe like quadrilateral with a spin.
You just mentioned Bowen Court. got the school on one side, got the community center. Would I be correct in assuming that Senior Road makes up the other side?
Yep, Senior Road is part of it down to our parking lot. So if you sort of go the lower parking lot of this site and in behind it to, I don't even know what direction that is, you start to end up in the forest, all the way back to the bike park. Okay. Thank you so much for being here today. We look forward to hearing more of this project. And thank you to everyone that you brought in the gallery here today as well. That always makes for a more exciting and vibrant council meeting when we have multiple generations represented in the room. So thank you. Thank you so much. Moving back to our agenda, consent agenda, I will look to council for any items they would like to.
The minutes of October 14th, not because I want to change them, but I want to raise a question about getting this in.
Okay, so 4.1. Other items to pull from the consent agenda? Not seeing any. Can I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda, please? Moved by, let's say, Councilor Jurgensen, seconded by Councilor Fast. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that carries unanimously. Moving on to items, pulled from the consent agenda, 4.1 minutes of the regular council meeting, held October 14th, 2025. Over to you for a question, Councilor Moss.
It's the section of the minutes under delegations, and it's the second paragraph. Council did not agree to write a letter to the BC Conservation Office Service. Discussion ensued related to opportunities to educate and inform the community about safety in wildlife territory. It was discussed that staff could arrange for an event open to the public with wildlife experts in attendance who can answer questions and communicate safety advice. So I guess two comments. One, I guess, is I think we need to acknowledge that a lot of our citizens do not feel safe in their community now, and they used to feel safe. And they used to feel safe when their kids were out playing in their yard and out making tree forts, and they used to feel safe walking to a neighbor's house in the dark at night. And now they don't. And I'm not sure that we as a council have acknowledged that. And the other is the event open to the public. I'm assuming by wildlife experts, you also mean the Conservation Office Service. And where are we at with organizing that event?
For the second part of your question regarding the event with wildlife experts and conservation officer, I'll turn it over to staff for comment.
Thank you for the question. Through the chair, it would be, we've identified a few members of the public as well, and we've identified an instructor for the bear spray training course. So experts to provide education, and we've spoken with the BC Conservation Officer Service as well. And they've agreed to attend a public meeting like that so that the public can ask questions. It's just a matter of nailing down a date that everyone can attend at the same time. So we would be looking at scheduling that maybe in the next month or so.
And I guess just a follow-up with respect to the timing, it would be either in an evening or a weekend, not during people's work days.
I think that would probably be the best idea, yes.
And I don't quite know how we go about acknowledging the concern that people don't feel safe in their community anymore. But under the community charter, we're responsible for safety and well-being of our citizens. And so I guess somehow, I think as a council, we need to understand the concern. People don't feel safe in our community.
And just to respond from the chair as the spokesperson of the municipality, I want to go over to you, Councilor Fast. I think it's important to remember a few of the communications that have gone out, and it's been acknowledged, particularly in the open letter that I provided to the undercurrent on behalf of the municipality, where clearly stated that public safety is a paramount concern. it's a shared concern amongst the municipality for the residents and our neighbors and the children on the island. From a personal standpoint, I live in a house with kids and a dog and a few chickens, and it's certainly led me to modify my behavior. And to put that into context, in addition to the already resolved actions of council, where I believe last summer we invited the conservation officer to come and answer questions, where we're happy to hold that convener role again, to hold the multiple and diverse perspectives of the community so that they can come and speak to authorities and have their viewpoints answered. I think that's the proper role for us in this case, given that we've got a strong petition that's seeking the removal of the cougar, and we've got another strong position that's explicitly said that the municipality is acting within its jurisdiction and purview. So in terms of the public safety responsibility, given the actions of this council so far, it appears, unless I hear otherwise through council resolution, that our role from a public safety standpoint is one of education, of being able to house and direct and convene and be a conduit for the diverse perspectives that we hear to the appropriate authorities in a way that we're not alienating one half the population. So to that end, I believe that we've certainly acknowledged repeatedly that we share the public safety concerns, that we share them in evidence-based ways for action, that we will continue to liaise with the conservation officer service as we did. And for folks that don't know, we did have a uniformed conservation officer on the island the very day of the delegation of the discussion that was had. The last council meeting was following up on reports and following up on concerns from residents and investigating the actions of the cougar, and we can address some of those questions and concerns when they are invited and they are here and in front of us. I think the challenging spot for the municipality in all of this, and that I feel personally challenged at as the mayor, is that to some degree we are in the position of being the middleman in place between the conservation officer and what's clearly a provincial responsibility and the desires of our residents. And it's we're passing information from the conservation officer service to the community. We're passing comments and complaints and suggestions from the community up to the conservation officer. And it appears what's really needed is for us to host a space where we can no longer, or where we're not going to be the middle person, and residents can actually directly communicate with the authorities to hear responses from the experts, from the conservation officer service, and have their anxieties heard in a meaningful way and addressed in a meaningful way that, given our legislative authority, we just cannot do at this point. So that's sort of the municipal standpoint so far. And just to clarify that public safety is an absolute concern. We understand that behaviors have to be modified, but it's a very divisive issue in the community that we do not directly have the authority to act on. Councilor Best.
Thank you. Assuming that because we don't have cougars on the agenda today and we just adopted an agenda, and I don't think we want to, I don't see very often that councillors pull a topic out of minutes. I think we should hold to our agenda that we've agreed on, and I would like to move that council approve that the minutes of the regular council meeting held October 14th, 2025 be adopted.
Okay, moved by Councillor Fast, seconded by Councillor Saunders. Any further discussion on the minutes? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. Aye, and that carries unanimously. The consent agenda having been dealt with, we'll move on to section 8, staff reports, 8.1, council remuneration policy. We have our CFO joining us here today. And I see that the students are leaving for the exciting finance conversation.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Through the mayor to the rest of council. This report and this draft policy originally came forward on July 28th council meeting. It appeared at the time that council was willing to consider and possibly approve the policy. Councillor Morse did raise some concerns with the policy. She indicated that she would like to have some small changes made before the policy came back. I think it appears that perhaps some of her concerns were maybe a little more complex than small changes, and I thought it would best be process from a process perspective if the policy came back to council and provided Councillor Morse the opportunity to discuss the changes that she wanted to see at the council table. So it's coming back the second time today for that discussion.
Thank you, Ms. Watson. I will look to council for questions, comments, discussion. Councillor Morse.
I'm sorry I was not able to have a conversation with the CFO about this. I think it might have relieved some of this. So just walking through the document, the policy objective, no problem at all with remuneration being adequate to attract a diverse, skilled and dedicated group of community. But I don't think having attract and retain is appropriate because if people are elected to council. So we have a policy to retain people is not appropriate when you're talking about people that are elected. So I would like to see the words and retain removed. Under purpose, it's to establish council remuneration for the 2026 to 2030 term. I'm not sure why it doesn't say to establish council remuneration effective at the beginning of the council term for 2026, 2030. The previous policy, the one that's being amended, had a line in there about reviewing it every 4 years. And compensation reviews, mayor and council remuneration will be reestablished through a compensation review every 4 years and put forward for approval as part of the budget process. That clause has been left out of this one. And so I'm curious from CFO why we're only establishing it for 2026 to 2030, why this is not a new policy going forward indefinitely or with a 4-year review every year built into it. Well, that's my first question.
Through the mayor, I think that's a valid and positive amendment. So there could be some wording in the annual compensation adjustments to suggest or maybe a section 5 to say this policy shall be reviewed every 4 years.
So putting in what was there before in the previous.
See, Councillor Dickinson. I was just adding Alex to the speakers list, so we didn't.
Oh, sorry.
So back to you, Councillor Morse. I think there's still a question.
Okay. And then annual remuneration will be set at 40% of the average. So I guess in the example, in the report we were given earlier, it said it used the SOFI for 2023. So in doing the budgeting and in setting the 40%, are you going to use the SOFI numbers for the previous year? I mean, where are you going to get these numbers from?
Through the mayor, I do believe there are several different options that we could have to get that information. We could certainly email other municipalities. We could phone them. I could use SOFI information that's publicly available. I believe that piece about how we collect the data gets a little bit down into operations, and I was seeking to keep the policy at a higher level.
Okay, so that's fine. So basically, you haven't decided. I guess my other question then following up on that, we're about to draft the budget for 2026, 2027 onward. So what are you going to use in the budget for the basis for the salary remuneration? Because the 2027 number, a full year salary increase is a significant increase in property taxes.
Through the mayor, should council approve this policy prior to the next fiscal year, I would use the number that the salary number that was determined based on the adoption of this new policy. Should a policy not be adopted prior to that, then I would use the existing amount plus a CPI adjusted inflationary factor for 2026.
So you would use the 2023 numbers, not the 2024, so.
No, I would use the current level of remuneration and inflate that by the CPI index for 2026. If council does not adopt a new
If the
policy.
policy is adopted,
Mhm.
then are you using the 2023 SOFI numbers or the 2024 SOFI?
I would use 40% of the average base salary remuneration paid to mayors of the Metro Vancouver municipalities established at the beginning of the council term. So what they were paid for the October figure, I would use that, and that would be inflated effective January 1st of 2026.
So you're actually gonna find out what they're all being paid now,
Correct.
not. There's a typo in councillor remuneration. Annual remuneration paid to councillors needs 2 Ls. And typo in elected officials and benefits, it should be little e and little o. The next one is the annual compensation adjustments. Compensation will be adjusted. The previous policy said should be adjusted. And the question I have here is the CPI, and we have a personnel policy, and I think there is no actual CPI amount set out in the personnel policy. So we could end up with a compensation increase for council at say 6 or 7%, which I think is what happened a couple of years ago, and 3% or something for staff. So is it appropriate for council's CPI index to be more than what is given to staff?
Through the mayor to Councillor Morris, I believe the staff compensation policy does identify the exact same change in the CPI index for both.
I thought in looking at the new one, it didn't, it was different.
So I can look at that, but it was my understanding that they were both the CPI annual year-over-year change for Vancouver. And that is the figure that we use in our budgeting process.
I do recall a couple of years ago, we did waive an increase or take a lower increase. So I'm questioning the change of the word should to will, rather than saying compensation should be adjusted each January 1st, which gives us a little bit more flexibility.
I think I would recommend keeping it with will, and in the event of an extraordinary situation such as COVID, where council made that decision to either not take it or take less, that would be left for an extraordinary situation that could be discussed. Otherwise, all other things being equal, staff has clear direction to just apply that percentage, and we're not running back to council all the time to confirm that you want to follow the policy.
And then going back to benefits, it's authorized offering coverage in extended health, dental, and insurance plans, but it doesn't say whether it's single or family coverage. And in the existing policy, the first sentence is the same. And then it says research has indicated that the level of council remuneration is predictably found at, wrong section. Will be offered to council members in order to share the enhanced health opportunities available in the existing plans in place for municipal staff. And to me, I don't understand why that statement would be left out, and it leaves you open to then offer the same benefits. So family or single. And without that, I think you need to be only offering single. I would like to see that the rest of that sentence put back in from the current policy. And
Sorry, to the CFO.
Excuse me, through the mayor to Councillor Morris, for clarity, I don't understand. Are you suggesting that you don't want to offer coverage?
No,
to
I want
dependents?
to offer coverage, but I
Okay.
want to make it clear
Okay,
that
so-
it's the same coverage
so-
staff is offered.
Okay, so potentially then, well, it's never gonna be the same because there's not the short-term and long-term disability benefit that come with staff. So a potential language then could be to the extent authorized by the municipality's benefit carriers, elected officials and their dependents will be offered coverage in this plan.
Yeah, so that would make sense.
Okay.
Because I did do looking at a bunch of other municipal council remuneration policies, and some of them very clearly stated will only be single. So that solves that problem. And then I guess just one, if you're doing an if it's effective, say, for the next term, not the 2026-2030 term, but the 2030 to 2034. Of course, that seems like a long time away. Then there was a clause in the other one that when you're in clause 4 of the compensation review, the adjustments, it wouldn't take place, there wouldn't be a CPI adjustment in the year there was a compensation review. So would you set the compensation at November 1st this year for the, or next year for the new council, and then on January 1st of 2027, give them a CPI increase? Even though there had just been a big increase in, I think the other policy actually dealt with compensation on a calendar year versus a term year. Those are my comments. Things I'd like to see change.
Thank you, Councilor Morse. Councilor Getty, followed by Councilor Jorgensen. As well.
Through the chair, I like the idea of having the compensation reviews that was in the original added to this. But I would also like, I thought one of the principles was that if we were going to do a review, that it would be for the benefit of the next council and not ourselves. So I'm wondering if the original paragraph, it now reads, mayor and council remuneration will be reestablished through a compensation review every 4 years and put forward for approval as part of the budget process. Adding in words such as no later than November of the year before an election, so that it's sorted out and decided before the next council comes in. Would that be helpful, or?
I was thinking perhaps language, I'm gonna suggest this language. The policy will be reviewed prior to the expiry of the 2026 to 2030 term. And that gives us
4 years thereafter.
well, every single time we review it, it'll have the same language in it. Because each policy is only established for the 2026 to 2030 term. It will be reviewed prior to the expiry of that term, and the new one will be established for the 2031 to 35 term.
All right, I think as long as we, through the chair, if I may, as long as we keep that principle that it's reviewed every 4 years in advance of whenever the elections are.
Thank you, Councilor Getty. Councilor Jorgensen.
It's more to Councilor Morris's point of attract versus retain.
Oh, it's attract and retain.
Sorry, attract and retain. I would assume the language of the word retain is to encourage people to rerun in elections, but perhaps there's alternate wording that could be used that would replace the word retain as opposed to striking it.
Thank you, Councilor Jorgensen. Councilor Fest.
Thank you. I like the sound of shall be reviewed every 4 years as the CFO has just used the language, and the benefits language that she's read out that she's thinking about there. And but I'm not in favor of removing and retain from the policy, because I think the continuity of councillors, at least some continuity, helps the municipality function and this decision-making role of selected folks function. And I've seen in the news more and more split councils where there are factions not working constructively with each other, and I can see the opportunity for a split council to make a change to the, if the word retain wasn't in there, to make a change that would lower the compensation and perhaps get rid of some members of council that were not in the majority. And I think we should follow our diversity and inclusion and equity kind of policy and try to aim for a diverse council. And I think having the word retain in there helps us keep the diversity in council, so it's not only people that can afford a certain level that make up the decision makers on board. And so I like the wording that's in here now, but I'm supportive of the other wording that the CFO has changes, and I'd be prepared to move the motion with the two amendments for the review language and the benefits language, unless I've missed something that our CFO has read out.
It may be from a process standpoint, perhaps easier just to have staff let us know what they've heard and what the changes are, and then have a motion to refer back to staff and have the policy come back at the next meeting. I think that clears the speakers list, so maybe just to the CFO, if you can let us know what you've heard and the possible changes that might be brought up, and then we can have a motion to refer back to staff.
Certainly through the mayor, I believe I've captured wording regarding the benefits that would deal with the concern. I believe I have direction or I've heard that I'm going to add a fifth clause to indicate the frequency of review of this policy. What I'm not clear on is whether council seeks to retain the word retain or remove that.
Yes, we've had just mentally working through this now. So we've had two opposing viewpoints on language as to whether to retain the word retain. So perhaps Councillor Jurgensen.
To my earlier point, I don't know if it's worth exploring a alternative to the word retain that would keep the same general principle of having people rerun an election, but not using the word retain. That may solve both sides of this.
Is that support for the word, for the idea, the concept of
Support for
retain?
the concept without the wording.
I'm trying to decide whether to make it a fully worded resolution or not over a single word in the policy. But it seems like we might have to, unless there's a proposal of any alternative language at this point, just to give staff clarity so that the policy that we want comes back as the policy that we want. Yes, Councillor Morse.
Well, the word attract doesn't just mean the first term. It means continue to attract. So to me, the word attract applies. If you're still attracted, you still want to be involved.
Yeah, at the same time, I'll just speak personally. The word retain, I think is useful. As a mayor who's sort of in the middle of his career with kids and other commitments and trying to make the finances of the household work here on Bowen Island in the current climate is incredibly difficult to do. And I would think that councillors and folks that are seeking to be around this table next term, it's a prime consideration for that. And I've heard it, and to me it boils down to an equity issue, so that we have, as we stated in the policy or the draft policy language says it's whether it's track or retain, there's a need to ensure that anybody that wants to participate in local government has the ability to do so, and that they're not going to get rich by any stretch of the imagination, but they're also not going to lose their house if it's their primary commitment for the challenges and the shifting time commitments that this job takes. So at the end of the day, it's a policy objective. I don't know if the community is going to have strong opinions on whether it's attract and retain or attract, but I'm happy to hear what council wants to do. Councillor Jurgensen.
What about the word reattract or attract and continue to encourage? I don't actually know the rest of that sentence out of context since I don't have the policy in front of me.
All right, so I'll just make it simple then. So I'll move that the language of the policy objective remain as stated. Seconded by Councillor Wake. Any further discussion on this? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All opposed, raise your hand and say nay. Okay, that carries with Councillor Morris in opposition. And was there another piece of direction that you needed through the CFO?
I believe that I have everything I need to make the requested changes.
Councillor Bass?
I'm just gonna offer to make a motion if needed, but it's not needed. Thank you.
Okay, so now maybe a motion for refer back to staff.
Well, that's the one. Okay.
Moved by Councillor Bass.
To refer the policy back to staff. Thank you.
Okay. Seconded by Councillor Jurgensen. Not seeing any further discussion. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. And that carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. 8.2, update on multi-use grant funding, and our Director of Engineering, Patrick, and with us here today.
Hearing council. Got a work presentation. Just focus the discussion. Just share my screen. Okay, so this discussion and report are relating to an upcoming application for allocated grant funding for TransLink. And also to provide an update next phase of the Cross Island Multi-Use Path project. Well, the recommendation that's being put forward to council is that council direct staff to apply for the 2026 allocated grant funding that's available from TransLink for construction of the next phase, Cross Island Multi-Use Path, and commit to funding the municipal contribution in the 2026 budget. So just a quick update on where we're at with the multi-use path project. We've completed about 1.6 kilometers of the total 6.2 kilometers that runs from Gardena Drive near the ferry to the Bowling Bay Road intersection on the west side. So about 26% has been completed. There's a continuous multi-use path in place from Gardena Drive to about 360 meters past Artisan Lane, running along Trunk Road and Grafton Road. We've been successful to date in securing grant funding for advancing this project. About 80% to date has been grant funded. We've got design and survey underway for the next phase, extending the path up to Grafton Lake. We've secured approved grant funding for the next phase, including 2 grants, one from 2024 and one from 2025, from the BC Act Transportation Grant Program. Each of those are 500,000. And we've got remaining 2025 TransLink grant funding of 233,000. So this is a map showing phases to date. So there's been 3 phases. The first one was constructed from the school up to Artisan Lane. Then the path was extended from the school down to Cardina Drive. And most recently, it was extended about 360 meters past Artisan Lane. The next phase is very difficult in terms of extending further west past the current endpoint. It would involve, because of the Terminal Creek Ravine on the north side of Grafton Road, the road would have to be widened on the south side. And there's some rock cliffs where a substantial amount of rock removal would be required. And there would be some retaining structures needed to prevent encroachment onto private property. What's being suggested as the next phase is from is starting from Grafton Lake at Forster Lane and extending back towards the current endpoint and leaving that most difficult section as a future phase 5. The section past Forster Lane up to Harding Road is to be constructed by the Lakelands developer as part of their development agreement with the municipality. And then extending past Harding Road up to Bowen Bay Road is another about 2.7 kilometers. That's really only been looked at a very conceptual level. No design work has been done to date or detailed cost estimates for that section. So as I mentioned, proposed next phase from Grafton Lake back towards the current section that's already been built. Due to the difficulty of that section around the Charlie's Lane corner, we have applied for grant funding for that section. That was applied for the Active Transportation Fund through Communities and Housing Infrastructure Canada. I don't know if I got that right. So we haven't heard. We received word that they're still evaluating applications and they aren't able to give us any estimate of when we hear about that grant application. So
Sorry, what stream was that through?
It's called the Active Transportation Fund.
Okay.
And it's the same sort of CHIF funding that we were talking about for the wastewater treatment plant. There's a particular Active Transportation Fund under that program. So the estimated cost for the proposed next phase is $2 million. That's to extend from Forster Lane to about approximately 100 meters north of Cates Hill Road, running along Grafton Road. As I mentioned, there's 1.23 million in confirmed grant funding. There's an additional 325,000 of allocated grant funding available from TransLink for 2026. And that's what we're needing council approval to apply for. We have an application that's ready to go. Needs to be submitted before the end of October. There's also $200,000 in unspent climate action funding that's available. The amount that was spent last year on the section that we built past Artisan Lane was less than what was budgeted, leaving approximately 200,000 in unspent climate action funds that can be put towards this phase. And that leaves 242,000 of additional municipal contribution required for the project. Because of the rules around the BCAT funding, we have 2 BCAT grants and they have to be applied to separate projects. So we've divided this proposed next phase into 2 sections. The longer section from Forster Lane to Connolly Road is about half of the project. And to that project, we would apply the 2024 BCAT grant, to 233,000 of 2025 TransLink funding, $200,000 climate action funding, and then there would need to be an additional 67,000 municipal contribution. the next section from Connolly Road, which is near the crossing of the Terminal Creek, up Grafton Road, would be funded through the 2025 BCAT grant. The 325,000 we're requesting to apply for the 2026 President grant, and 175,000 municipal contribution. I should point out that section 2, that includes the replacement of a failed culvert that's near Cates Hill Road. That's an estimated cost for that culvert. It's a substantial project in that it requires fairly deep replacement and concrete head wall on the downstream side and a substantial amount of fill in that ravine. That can be integrated, and what's proposed here is that it would be integrated with the multi-use path project, in which case it would be approximately 80% grant funded. If we don't proceed with the multi-use path project, this culvert still needs to be replaced, and we would be requesting funding in the 2026 budget to replace that culvert, but in that case, without grant funding, because it's not being done through the multi-use path project. So even if we don't decide here to move forward with the multi-use path project, there will be some substantial costs regardless related to this culvert replacement. So just in summary, the ongoing council support for this project and the success of grant applications have been and will continue to be critical for the multi-use paths progress. We believe that this multi-use path project plays a key role in enhancing safe, accessible, and sustainable active transportation options for both residents and visitors to Bowen Island, and leveraging approved and available grant funding to construct the next phase of the multi-use path, plus the culvert replacement, is the best value approach for the municipality. So that's the end of my presentation. If there's any questions.
Councillor Jurgensen first.
Do you know what the rough estimate for the culvert replacement would be?
About 315,000.
Oh, thank you.
Councillor Morse.
Not totally clear, is the 315,000, the report doesn't talk about it, but PowerPoint did. Are you saying that we won't have to, we've got to spend 315 if we don't do the Connolly to Cates Hill Road? But if we do the Connolly to Cates Hill Road, then it's not all the numbers you've got there for Connolly to Cates Hill plus 350.
No, it's included in the $2 million estimate.
Councillor Wake.
For the mayor, how many meters are left once we get to the end of this, to the end of where we are now, that one gap that's gonna be even more expensive because of it? Southside work.
Right, so we've got 1.6 constructed to date. The proposed section is 800 meters. That gap that would be left is it's about 264 meters. And then past there's about 840 meters that the Lakelands developer will be building. And then 2.7 kilometers past there to go to the main road.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wake. Councillor Gayton.
So the dividing it up, they're roughly the same amount total, $1 million for each section. It seems to me that the second phase is potentially more difficult in terms of engineering. There's steeper sides. And that is dependent on getting this 325,000 grant funding that we have. We haven't secured. Have we applied for that?
No, we need council approval to apply. And
So
it's also it's an allocated grant program, which means that so it's not a competitive means that if you've got a project that meets the project eligibility criteria, then that's the amount of money that you get.
So are both sections engineered and shovel ready?
No, we've got design is underway. Well, survey is underway and design has started, but
For the second one?
for both of them.
Oh, okay. And seems to me that if we've built from the ferry dock all the way up to just past Artisan, that we've got that crazy corner. Is there a problem with doing the second part of this proposal first? As opposed to moving backwards from Forester? Because it seems to me that people that are coming along and using the pathway, the next phase is just around that corner.
Yeah. No, there's not a problem with doing, if we were to decide to divide this up and just do one of the two sections, there wouldn't necessarily be a problem with doing, the further east section. What I'm proposing is that we design and tender this project as a single 800-meter project, and that within the tender documents, it's divided up into two sections for the purposes of grant reporting.
All right, and the culvert that's about to collapse, that's at the corner of Keats Hill. Is that not something that should be tackled first?
Well, what I'm proposing is that it be tackled as part of the same project.
Yes, but it's somehow or other divided up.
Just for the grant.
It's
Just
only,
for the grant.
the only reason is to.
We don't, it's divided up for the grants, but we don't have the second grant, the 325. So we've got money in hand that we have to spend, that there's a timeline on it, and that's what you've labeled as the first part of the project, right? Is that correct?
So,
All right, and then the second part is dependent on the 325,000 that we don't have yet.
second part is dependent on, yes, 325, which we don't have, but as I mentioned, it's not a competitive grant program.
Yep.
And we've received multiple TransLink grants from the same program for the same type of project. So I have no reason to think that if we apply for it, we can get it.
Of course. I'm really happy to see this proposal. I'm actually extending the path the way you're proposing. It's long been. I know the curve is, it's dangerous, but we can use signage and share the road and put bikes and everything, pedestrians and everything on pavement markings. And, tell people, be patient. 200 meters away, you're gonna be back in, the path will be back, and just be patient. And it's two curves that people go slowly around anyhow, so I'm very, very supportive of this, and I'd like to make the motion. That I move that council direct staff to apply for the 2026 allocated grant funding that is available from TransLink for construction of the next phase of the Park Island multi-use path, and to commit to funding a municipal contribution in the 2026 budget.
Moved by Council Morris, seconded by Council Jurgensen. The only questions I have, tricky adding myself to the queue.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if I'm reading this correctly, we're looking for this phase 5, it's a $2 million expenditure with everything basically funded up to about $240,000 that will need to come out of next year's tax allocation. And does that $2 million, does that include contingency at this point?
It includes contingency.
Okay. So the municipal contribution that could effectively be the size of the contingency.
Right. The estimate isn't based on detailed design.
Okay.
So that's underway.
That's underway.
Consider, but roughly the municipal contribution is.
Okay, and I'm just curious, what is staff's level of confidence that the detailed design is going to come in at $2 million or less?
I would say, It isn't entirely straightforward, particularly at the section where Terminal Creek crosses Grafton Road. There's not a lot of space there, and some realignment of the road is likely going to be required to fit it in. So it's possible, because of the way the project has been laid out, we could adjust the scope of the construction to match the budget. So we could shorten up the section past Gates Hill Road, for example, and leave that for phase 5.
Okay. And then, and then phase 5, sounds like we have a grant in, or a grant application in already to the federal, to the CHIP Act of Transportation stream.
Yeah.
How much is that ask for?
It was a little over 1.2 million was the grant application.
Okay.
It's 60% funding.
Yep.
So that would leave 800,000.
Okay.
Of municipal contribution.
Yep.
Similarly to what we've done in the past, there are opportunities to stack grant funding, and you know, as long as you comply with the various rules for each of the grants, you can lower that municipal contribution.
Right.
There always still is some, but it could be lower.
Right, but it's possible that, you know, whatever we get out of TransLink in 2027 could be stacked with that federal.
Yes.
Okay. And I suppose the only fear that I'm trying to allay is that there, you know, if there's a larger municipal contribution in that phase 5 chunk, you know, it's easier to approve, I think, a $240,000 spend than it is down the road, like we've got a gap and somehow the municipality has to come up with $1 million to cover that. So I'm encouraged to hear that we've got multiple grant applications in, and there's still other funding streams that we can access for that.
Yeah, the as far as we're told, the TransLink funding program is expected to continue. Unfortunately, the BCAT program is on hold pending review.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, different program. I mean, the TransLink funds are just an interesting way, I think, to return Canada Community Building Fund back to the community that you know gets absorbed through Metro Vancouver. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Councillor Fast, followed by Councillor Morse.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, staff, for bringing this report. I know there's been a lot of effort to look at that. What is now proposed as phase 5, that the Charlie's Lane S-bend, and as the next phase, that's the way it was envisioned. But I appreciate your the situation, and the retaining walls and things are going to need more work. It's the hydro lines, everything there is challenging. I just I think 80% has been grant funded so far. That's a pretty good return on investment. I like the idea that the culvert can be replaced as part of this, as part of improvements to ability of families to get around on the island and at an affordable way. And especially with the community group that was just in here presenting about the All Wheels Park, there's enthusiasm for these kinds of transportation options now. And I think I'm in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Morse, followed by Councillor Higgins.
It just occurred to me, ICBC has some safety grant money, I think. Have we looked at that as a possible source of funding?
Through Mr. Mayor, we used it for our Long Island Trunk Road signage and pavement marking study. It's accessible to us for crossings, those rectangular wrapping flash
Not for
beacons.
trail.
Yeah, I don't think we've used it specifically for the trail yet, but we are accessing the funding, and we use it as applicable on a variety of things. It's in the mix.
And then one other follow-up question. There's an old sailboat hanging down the cliff at the crossing. Is that on our property or
which crossing?
where Farm and Kate's Hill Road, just to the, on the north side, right?
I'm not sure. We're just getting survey now. That'll help us determine what's.
I keep waiting for it to slide off into the creek.
Councillor Vincent.
Maybe it's a dumb question, but for the challenging section from Charlie's Lane to Kate's Hill Road, is there any reason why the multi-use path cannot cross over and beyond the south side? It'd be easier to build.
Well, it would, for that section, it would be widening the road on the south side. The path would remain contiguous on the north side, but in order to, so essentially the edge of the path, the edge of the road would become the edge of the path. And then you're widening on the south side to regain your road width.
Understood, but is there any advantage to having elevated multi-use path on the south side instead?
We did look at opportunities around that and you know, due to where the property lines are and cliffs are, it didn't seem to be the most feasible solution.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jurgensen. Not seeing any further questions, I'll call question on the motion. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that carries unanimously. Thanks, Mr. Graham. 8.3, Committee Code of Conduct Policy, round 7 with our Deputy Corporate Officer.
Back. Good afternoon. Through the mayor to council. Council received a committee code of conduct on July 28th and September 8th in closed meetings. And again on October 14th in its open meeting. At the open meeting, council further articulated nuances around conflict of interest for members who are appointed or their representation. What you have received in your package today is sections 9 to 13, which have been edited. Section 9 is an added additional element, which talks about integrity and conduct in public as related to conflict of interest. Section 10 clarifies the legal obligation of council not extending to committees, but being an expectation. Section 11 was reworded slightly, and there's an administrative piece about the minutes added. Section 12 is about conduct and process after declaration of conflict of interest. Section 13, we fleshed out the piece around members who are appointed for their representation. Specifically, that the member would clearly state their affiliation if a matter of possible or perceived conflict arises. The affiliation and the nature of their participation are transparent and recorded in the minutes, and that the member acts in good faith to balance their representative role with the broader public interest. And the last section 13 is just reordered about volunteers being encouraged to seek staff support. It's a self-declaration, but if they're uncertain.
Councillor Getty, followed by Councillor Jurgensen.
I think it's a really good reorganized or rewriting, and I think this will work really well. I think there might be a little problem with the numbering in terms of 1313.
Okay.
Thank you. I like it. I hope it works. I think it should.
Councillor Jurgensen, followed by Councillor Morris.
Make the motion.
Okay, I'll come back to you after Councillor Morris.
Just a, page 5 and 6. You signed agreement is at the bottom of page 5, and the item it's referring to is on the top of page 6. But it refers to committee volunteer agreement. And I'm thinking it would make more sense if signed agreement was changed to committee volunteer agreement.
Okay for that?
You can fix the pagination up.
Councillor Jurgensen.
I need to make the motion as supplied.
So that council adopt the committee code of conduct policy number 25-02 as amended. By Councillor Jurgensen, second by Councillor Morse. Any further discussion? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand. Aye. That carries unanimously. I see our PCO looking to get out of the chair as soon as possible. But thank you for your for your diligent work and care on this. I know that something to get done. Okay. Moving on to section 11, new business, 11.1, update to council on Metro Vancouver business. The banner item in Metro Vancouver business right now is the preparation of the next budget. Councillor Lake and Councillor Jurgensen attended the Council of Councils this past weekend, where I think Metro Vancouver staff put on and the elected officials from the various communities or committees rather put on a fantastic presentation detailing all of the areas that Metro Vancouver is in, as well as all of their budgetary asks. The sort of distilled message, I think, out of that budget process is at the start of the term, Metro Vancouver was projecting 10% tax increases across the region for the portion of their services. They took it down to 5% after some work from various task forces and committees. And it's landed on a 2.5% increase this year, which is, I think, pretty incredible. That includes things like $364 million saved in operational savings, about $1 billion that they've taken a look at through their capital programs and realignment of their capital programs. And across the scope of services that Metro Vancouver deals with, which are truly almost unfathomable in size when it comes to water and waste, is pretty incredible. Some of that doesn't affect us, as we are only a member of 2 of the 4 Metro Vancouver boards, being the Regional District and the Housing Corporation. But nonetheless, I think it was a great event to bring together members from all the councils across the region and to hear from Metro Vancouver. By Councillor Fast, followed by Councillor
I
Jurgensen.
thought we were on the Parks Committee too, that board, or is that different?
Parks Committee is part of the Regional District.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Right, gotcha.
Councillor Jurgensen, followed by Councillor Morse.
Mr. Ron, I have the same question.
Okay.
The 2.5% then includes all the services we don't.
Yes.
So our increase is gonna be less.
Even less, yes.
So.
Well, I mean, the lion's share of the budget is not in liquid waste, storage and drainage, followed by water and solid waste. So the regional district component actually is pretty small, and then the housing corporation is self-funded and self-sufficient. Any other questions, comments? Not seeing any. TransLink has not met in the last 2 weeks in open meeting. And I will turn it over to our trustees for an update to council on trust business.
Okay, just a couple of things I'll read. Well, the CAO sent an email this morning, pleased to confirm all staff are back on the job this morning and our offices are open. So they've had to cancel a bunch of meetings of their local trust committees on other islands, and but some things have been going ahead, like the financial planning committee meeting. We did meet last week on Zoom, and both of us are part of that committee. I think it was helping to put the budget in place, get the budget process going for the next year. And then tomorrow, both of us again will be in a chair and vice chair training about how to handle conflict and disruptive behavior on during meetings and things like that. So that's what I was going to talk about. Did you have anything else?
Yep. The getting people back to work is as a result of the BCGEU strike, because they've got a tentative agreement that has been agreed, and it's slightly more than we considered in our budget considerations, but it's 3% over I think 4 years, so it's workable. Yes, we're doing the chair training ongoing in terms of handling problems in meetings and the function of the chair and how to do the work really well, and that's been very helpful. We're about to start a couple of training sessions on reconciliation, which is interesting in light of the county and tribe decision, and some other legal advice that has been coming. And we're just going to set up the committee of the whole meeting for a new code of conduct. And that's in line with material that we got back from the province in terms of their workshop on a legislated, potential of a legislated code of conduct. So that's all happening. And I've got a governance committee that I'm going to start preparing for in early November, the 3rd, I think it is, in terms of now finally putting to rest the 22 governance review, and we've had a full discussion about that at Trust Council. So we've got 3 priorities, and we're going to figure out what the work plan is on those 3. So that's a huge page turned, which is a good thing.
Thank you. Back to trustee Fast.
Finally, if anybody wants to look at the trust council meeting in December, the draft agenda is coming to the executive committee. You can, the agenda's online.
And yes, Councilor Morse.
Just a timing question, nothing to do with the reports. The policy statement. We have any count, go with the policy statement. I'm just trying to figure out how fast I have to read.
I'll look to our corporate officer.
Yeah, we have it scheduled for the November 20th committee as well.
Councilor Ferguson.
Just a comment that since Council Trustee Getty mentioned the Cowichan Tribe decision, ABICC is holding a virtual seminar about that on November the 27th. And we all received an email about.
Not seeing any further comments or questions. I will look to our corporate officer for anyone that might be here for question period. Yes, we did. Oh. Right, and then a motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Councilor Getty, second by Councilor Ferguson. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned.
Well, you need to live streams because you trouble with this.